Welcome to Gooseberry Science and Education Videos. I'm your host, and if you look down there in the corner, you'll see our little orange gooseberry character waving hello. Today, we've got an amazing explainer lined up for you. We're heading to Portugal, a place that literally set out to discover the globe, and now, well, it's our turn to discover it. From towering coastal cliffs right down to incredibly fertile volcanic soils, we are in for a real treat.
And honestly, there's no better place to start than right at the edge of the open ocean. I mean, look at that contrast. The deep, endless blue crashing against those rugged, sun-drenched rocks. The Atlantic hasn't just carved out these dramatic landscapes over thousands of years. It's basically the lifeblood of Portugal. It defined their history, their economy, the whole shebang.
So, here's our roadmap for today. We'll kick things off with the Age of Discovery, then move into culture, cities, and traditions. After that, we'll hit the valleys of port wine, explore some coastal nature and wildlife, and finally wrap up way out in the volcanic islands.
All right, part one, the Age of Discovery.
You know, it's wild to think how such a relatively small country had such a massive global footprint. It really kicked off with guys like Henry the Navigator, born way back in 1394. Now, ironically, he didn't actually sail much himself, but he was the money guy. He financed these huge expeditions down the African coast, eventually locking down a total monopoly on trade south of Cape Bojador. And then, native sons like Ferdinand Magellan, born around 1480, picked up the baton. All this culminated in massive, world-changing moments, like the capture of Goa in 1510. These guys basically mapped the modern world.
Moving right along to part two, culture, cities, and traditions.
When you step off the boat and into a city like Lisbon, you're just surrounded by layered history. You can literally hop on one of those iconic yellow trams and ride it all the way up to the Miradouro de Graça for these sweeping, jaw-dropping views of the city rooftops. But there's also a ton of hidden history, like the absolutely world-class art collections left by Kellis Gulbenkian. Get this, he was known as Mr. 5% because of these massive Middle Eastern oil deals he brokered. He made an absolute fortune, retired to neutral Portugal during World War II, and left behind a cultural foundation that still shapes the city today.
And the streets themselves, they are literally public canvases. You'll see these incredible blue azulejo tiles plastered across building facades everywhere you go. Back in the 17th century, a lot of these were painstakingly painted to look like super expensive brocaded fabrics. Talk about faking it till you make it, right? It's just a genius way of turning everyday architecture into high art.
But you know, the culture here isn't just painted on the walls. It's alive in the people. Take the University of Coimbra. This place has traditions going back 700 years. Even today, students wear specific colored ribbons to show what they're studying. So you've got red for law, yellow for medicine, and dark blue for letters. And then in May, they throw this massive party called the Queima das Fitas, where they actually ceremonially burn the ribbons to celebrate the end of their studies. How cool is that?
Okay, let's head north for part three. Valleys of port wine.
Up here in the Douro Valley, it feels like stepping into a time capsule. You've got these stunning rural villages like Sabrosa, which, fun fact, is actually where Magellan was born. These towns are just tucked right into the steep, rolling vineyard terraces. And if you happen to visit in early spring, the whole landscape just erupts. It foams with these delicate white almond flowers. It is absolutely breathtaking.
Now, the way people have adapted to farming up here is so clever. You'll see these structures called espigueiros. They look a bit like little granite or wooden tombs, right? But they're actually granaries raised up on stone columns. That specific design is brilliant. It keeps the grain and maize at the exact right humidity while keeping it totally out of reach from hungry rodents. Oh, and those almond blossoms we just talked about? They eventually become amenzas cobertas, these delicious sugared almonds that are a huge regional treat, especially around Easter. So good.
All right, shifting gears to part four. Coastal nature and wildlife.
So as we head down south, the landscape totally transforms into these wide, perfectly serene lagoons, like the Parque Natural de Ria Formosa. This sprawling wetland is basically a VIP lounge for wildlife. If you look closely, you'll see a wildly vibrant, beautifully balanced ecosystem just thriving right there in the shallow tidal waters.
And the bird watching here? Next level. You've got the red-crested pochard, which is this brightly colored duck originally from Central Europe. Then there's the purple gallinule. This guy's pretty funny. It's this dark bird with super long legs that can run incredibly fast, but it is a notoriously terrible flyer, just awful at it. You'll even spot cattle egrets that boldly hitch a ride on the backs of local cows, picking off insects as they go. It's nature working in total harmony.
So we've explored the mainland, the cities, the history, the agriculture, the coastlines. But what about the areas way off the map? What kinds of untamed, dramatic natural wonders are hiding out there, completely isolated hundreds of miles away in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean? That brings us to our final stop, Part 5, the Volcanic Islands.
The Azores and Madeira archipelagos are literally the peaks of underwater mountains. It's a total geological marvel. First, you have these massive volcanic eruptions that forge harsh, jagged new rock. But then, over a long period of time, the wet, temperate Atlantic weather beats down on that rock, slowly breaking it apart. And the result? It eventually turns into some of the most luxuriously fertile agricultural soil on the planet. Life just absolutely flourishes out there.
And humans, being humans, have figured out exactly how to make the most of it. They use that tough volcanic rock to build these incredible chessboard-like walls called curaletas, just to protect their precious wine vines from the fierce ocean winds. But here is the craziest part. The geothermal heat in places like Lagoa das Fornas is so intense that locals actually use the boiling ground to cook. Seriously, they bury pots of this rich meat and vegetable stew called cozido right in the earth, and the volcanic heat slow cooks it to absolute perfection for up to 6 hours. No oven required.
The whole thing creates this mind-blowing juxtaposition. You have this dark, unforgiving volcanic rock dropping straight into the deep blue sea, right next to these glowing, emerald-green agricultural terraces. And then, clinging right to the edge of the cliffs, you've got these uniquely adapted human settlements with striking red roofs. It is just the ultimate testament to human resilience and raw, natural beauty.
As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with something to chew on. How do these massive, primal forces, like deep oceans and explosive volcanoes, continue to actively shape our human culture, our food, and our everyday traditions today? From the early age of discovery to eating a stew slow-cooked by an actual volcano, Portugal is a living answer to that exact question. Thank you so much for joining me and our little orange gooseberry friend on this journey, and please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content.